You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
Welcome to another edition of Global Trade This Week. My name is Doug Draper, and with me on the other side of the coast is my good friend, Mr. Pete Mento. Pete, you ready to start the show? Because we don't have anything to talk about.
Nothing at all. You know, you want to talk about good timing, right? We have plenty to talk about today. Yeah. So, you're in Colorado today, and I'm in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Colorado. I'm not even going to talk about the weather, but it's great up here, and I haven't traveled for like a week and a half, so I'm feeling good about that.
I would love to have like 10 days in my own bed.
I know. It's crazy, Pete. And for our audience, I mean, maybe 3 times in the last couple of months you've been stable. Otherwise, you've been in a hotel or an office across the country.
15 days since January 1st. So I'm hoping, hope is not a strategy, but I'm hoping that starting, say, like mid-June, things will get a little better. I moved my daughter out of college this weekend. And, normally every Sunday we talk about what we're going to do next weekend if I get to see her. And I realized she's going back home to her mom's house. Like my daughter's not around. My girlfriend's moving houses, so she doesn't have time to see me. Like I have no plans, Doug. I'm on the wrong side of middle aged, and my weekends now I have absolutely no plans, none. So I think I'm going to sleep till like noon, and my favorite bar in town is called Fats. I'm probably going to go to Fats on Saturday and let myself just get a little too tipsy, get overserved a little bit.
Yeah.
And have a weekend to myself, man. I'm kind of fired up.
Good for you.
We both deserve it. I think everybody in this industry deserves it. I'm going to Houston next week to speak at a energy conference for DSV, which should be fascinating given what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
But the summertime usually for me is a lot of travel, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case this year. You got a lot going on? A lot of travel?
Next 2 weeks, towards the end, I'm going to a show called Home Delivery World in Nashville.
Ooh.
And obviously you've been to Nashville, but there's this hot chicken place called Hattie B's. You ever heard of it? Ever been?
It's great.
Yeah.
I really like it a lot. I don't, how everyone says sometimes things don't live up to the hype. I really think that place kind of does that.
I went there once to the Midtown location.
How hot do you get it? I don't go crazy hot.
A good burn, but not too hot that you can't enjoy it.
Because they apparently have one version of it that will absolutely put you in the hurt locker. And I've never been the kind of guy that makes those. I bet Keenan does. He's like that kind of a guy. He's like, oh, make it hurt. I bet he would probably have those. But Nashville, man, that's like bachelorette party heaven. And I always tell my single friends, you just need to go on a random weekend down to Nashville. You'll meet girls. That's not a problem. They're everywhere. You can pretty much walk into any bar and the music's fantastic. So it's a fun place, man. I'm kind of jealous, Doug. I want to come with you.
Well, it's a quick trip. The other thing, Pete, and then we can jump into this thing, is that they have those bars, those mobile bars where everybody's on either side and they're pedaling.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of those around Nashville, which is a great, I guess, party and bachelorette party activity.
I went to a bachelor party down there, and it was a pickup truck that drove us around on a trailer, and the trailer had a bar in the middle with a bartender and a karaoke machine. And we were driving up and down the streets in Nashville, really with very poor renditions of awful country songs coming out of our mouths. We had so much damn fun. If anybody ever goes to Nashville and you're going there for like a work thing, 100% try to pull that off for yourself. Yeah. More importantly, Doug, now that apparently we've found some sort of agreement between ourselves and the Chinese, at what point do I get to shave this stupid ass beard and this dumb mustache off my face?
That's great. And it'll depend on the end of this conversation, Pete, and then we'll have all of our audience vote. So
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. With that one, man, let's jump into it. That's why we're here.
Yeah. So I will start this conversation. As you can all imagine, we're going to spend a considerable amount of today's show talking about the pause on tariffs with China. So this weekend, Mr. Bessonette and Jameson Greer, so the head of the Treasury and the head of the USTR, went to Switzerland to an undisclosed location. So they didn't tell everybody where they were going to go. And Mr. He, who is a vice minister of the Chinese Communist Party, and he's their trade czar. He's like their trade czar. They all met, and what ended up coming out of it was an agreement to pause tariffs between both parties at a level that was much better than anyone expected. So we're dropping it down to 10% from the original 125%, and continuing with the IEEPA tariff, so that additional 20% tariff for our belief that all these synthetic opioids are coming from China. So right now, if you're an American importer who is buying stuff from China, it's dropped from 145% down to 30. And most economists believe that if we got it down below 50, that you would see a resumption of regular trade between the two. This is far better than that. So we're all patiently waiting for the next foot to drop, which is going to be massive supply chain disruption, right? Which we'll talk about too. But the negotiations have really taught us some things that allowed us to intuit some stuff. The first of which is it would appear that there's going to be some type of tariff for all of the countries that are currently negotiating at the end of this. We're going to have some kind of tariff that will be in place. And that tariff is going to probably not be any less than 10%, because the UK got hit with 10, China's getting hit with 10. And now the hard part happens. I got asked in a webinar I gave this morning, if this was a football game, what quarter are we in? And they were all surprised for me to say, I think we're at halftime. Like, I think, they thought we're not in the third or fourth. No, I think we're at halftime. I think the really hard part of this is going to happen now, Doug, which is figuring out the details of how these countries move forward. There are currently 24 countries, according to the USTR, that are very close to a framework for an agreement. And that framework is great, but it's the details, man. It's like, you go to buy a house and you agree on a price, and then you got to get your mortgage, and then there's the inspection, and then you do all the bickering in between. Like, we are just starting the hard part, I think, at this point. So how are you feeling about all this stuff that's happening, and what's your take on what's going on?
Yeah. So I'll two things, and I'm going to pose one question back to you. So number one, I want to let our audience know that it started as a truck. It's going to start up again as a train. And what I mean by that is that trucks can stop quickly. Oh my God, something's happening. Put the brakes on.
Yeah.
A train starts very slowly. Takes a little bit of time to get things up and running. And what I mean by that is that if you're an importer and you just want to pick up the phone and say, hey, you remember all that stuff I was holding on to a week ago? Yeah, it's good. Go ahead and send it. Equipment's been dispatched or moved in different directions or slightly changed, that it's not going to pivot immediately. So the 90 days, I think, is good. But you're going to see, obviously, a mad rush, but it's not going to start tomorrow, right? It's a train. It will start up like a train. And we'll get there. But if you think that a booking that you canceled 10 days ago is going to emerge tomorrow, you're sorely mistaken. The other piece of it is related to my industry, which is warehousing. And I think I joked last week that everybody was like, hey, anybody have bonded warehousing, right? So I'd be curious to hear the stories, because people just wanted, obviously, to protect it. And I am sure there were contracts written that said your rate is astronomically high, and the terms of this agreement is a minimum of X, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there'll be some consternation, if that's the right word, where, Pete, I've always wanted to work with you. Your company's made some good things. Oh, you have bonded space? Let me put my stuff in there. And now that it's all said and done, at least paused for 90 days, I don't need you anymore, and I want my stuff, right? And so it'll be interesting to see what type of conversations they have. So if you were fortunate enough to find bonded space, you may be unfortunate enough to try to get out of it in the short term. And then the last thing to you, Pete, is, have we learned any lessons now that we kind of went through this gigantic check mark of a anyway, I can't think of the right words, Pete, but did we learn any lessons here?
No. Like, this industry is so ridiculous. COVID happened, and you and I were doing the show, and it was just every day was a new goat rodeo, and that lasted a really long time, and it was miserable. And then we got out of it, and we're like, all right, well, we've learned our lesson. We didn't learn a damn thing, man. Like, everybody just, was I saying before the show, like, we all just tend to go right back to the dumb decisions we were doing before. Not dumb, but the easiest way to do it. the easiest way to get this cheap stuff in the country and sell it at a price that's going to be good for shareholders. And brah, right? Look at us. It was a miserable month and everyone was saying, what are we going to do? And now all they're going to say is, oh, cool. Okay, so it's just 30%. We could probably work with that. It'll only get better from here. And no one's going to learn a damn thing. And I shouldn't say no one, right? I shouldn't speak in absolutes. Only the Sith speak in absolutes. But I think that for most of my clients, they really got shook over the last month. They got terrified. Yeah. So are people going to change supply chains? I'm sure some will. But China's supply chain is just so damn good. It's hard to resist it. It's hard to walk away from it when it's been so predictable and so easy for us to use. Yeah. I don't know, Doug, do you think that everyone's going to learn this lesson and we're suddenly going to become better and go through all this fulfilling self-growth now that we've gone through this?
I think there'll be people in supply chain organizations that says your job for the next 6 months is to look at a strategy that comes what if. But that's the same people that happened during, right after COVID. So I think there'll be a good effort to go and analyze and see what we can do. The difference is there was like real financial pain, right? COVID was crazy and chaotic, right? But there was no overlay. Let me back up. Yes, the transportation was significant during that time, but this is tariffs, man. People were shutting things down. That's hard dollars. So I think it'll get a little bit more of a review. They'll throw some money at it, some analysts to go and crunch some numbers. They'll make a PowerPoint to the C-suite, and they're like, okay, how much money did we make last quarter? And that's what's going to prevail.
So I should have done this before the show, Doug, but I'd love to figure out how long the pause was when the world's economy shut down with COVID. It wasn't that long. It doesn't feel like it was that long. Maybe it was, and I'm just not remembering it correctly. But it didn't seem like it was a month. I mean, it seemed like it was a couple of weeks, and then blammo, everything went crazy all over again, right? And I feel like this last month, nobody was moving a damn thing, dude. Like it was dead. It was dead. So I'm wondering if we look at it from that perspective, is this worse? I don't know. My gut instinct is to say that we have peak, back to school, Halloween, and on top of all that, we've got holiday happening now, as well as restocking inventory from people that were pretty damn close to not having it. So my intuition says this is worse, but I don't know if it is.
Yeah, Pete, you and I agree on a lot of stuff in the show because we have good takes. You're completely wrong on this. That was COVID, bro.
It's okay, man. It's okay to be wrong.
Dude. Anyway, I think we're jumping. You and I didn't talk before this show, which is what we love about it, right? So I think we've covered that topic. So let's roll this thing into halftime, brother.
Let me give you one more thing to think about with that.
Yeah.
We don't know if stuff on the water is going to be subject to tariffs. We don't know if there's a date. We don't know if there's going to be refunds. We don't know any of this crap. So there's so many details to be knocked out of this about the tariff pause.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have answers by next week. Right?
Yeah.
So halftime.
That's a good point. Yeah. Brought to us by Cap Logistics. Keenan's here with us every week making this thing happen. So I didn't mean to jump into it, Pete, but halftime's one of my favorite parts of the show.
I know. You get very excited, buddy. You get very excited.
Yeah, I have when I'm emailing people about the show, I'm like, really, we kind of figure out each other's topics very close to the show, right? Like you and I didn't even talk before the show, and I have no idea what you're about to say. So my actions will be genuine, or my reactions. So Pete, let her rip.
So today, I want to talk a bit about worthless holidays. Okay, so yesterday when I got to my hotel, it was the middle of Mother's Day. They had a huge brunch, and Mother's Day is a day that we should venerate and adore the women who have decided to become parents. And I think it's wonderful. And good luck finding a place to take your beloved mother or wife or grandmother to go and have a nice brunch, because it is packed, man. Like that's one of those things you learn as a dude in your 40s is you better get that reservation in early because there's not going to be a place to go. Father's Day is trash. We are not given the same level of love and affection on that day. You could probably walk into any restaurant at 12 o'clock after church on a Sunday for Father's Day. They're like, oh, right this way. We have a table for you. Right this way. Father's Day, we cook. Father's Day, they tell us get in the backyard and grill those steaks and have dinner ready for us. I think Mother's Day, everybody wants that attention. The mothers want that attention. They like, I do so much for this damn family. Can I just have one day where everyone loves me back? Father's Day, for the most part, is will you all just leave me the hell alone for a day? Like, if I could have anything for Father's Day, I don't want a card. I don't want a tie. I would love to have a whole day where I'm just left the hell alone to do whatever it is I want to do, which would probably be nap and watch baseball, if I'm being super honest. But there are all these holidays, and I'm not talking like, National Donut Day. I don't mean that. I mean, there are real live holidays on your Google Calendar, like Flag Day, Arbor Day. Yeah, Flag Day is a day, I think it's in, I don't even know when the hell it is, buddy. But it's a day when we're supposed to celebrate the American flag. Arbor Day on the importance of trees. We have like Arbor Day. And I've yet to meet anyone that takes a day off from work and has a big party on Arbor Day. Friendsgiving. Now this is some bullshit. Like, Friendsgiving. It's when you get together with all of your friends who you apparently like more than your family, and you duplicate the Thanksgiving tradition, usually the day before or the day after Thanksgiving, with people you'd rather spend time with than your family. Come on now, right? So I'm proposing, Doug. I have a very good friend of mine. He's Hawaiian, and he came to my ugly sweater party and did not wear an ugly sweater. And I told everyone, if you don't wear an ugly sweater, there will be hell to pay for that decision. And he didn't. And so I said, you have to pick one of these ridiculously stupid, pointless holidays and have a blowout party. And lucky for me, my friend is very hospitable. So he has King Kamehameha Day, which I think is about to happen. I think it's in June, and it's King Kamehameha from Hawaii's birthday, and we're supposed to celebrate Pacific Islanders. And I don't think he still does it, but he used to have this blowout party with like hula dancers, professional ones, and like guys spinning fire. Then he made all the Hawaiian food, and it turned into this really awesome celebration of his heritage. It was a lot of fun. Okay. But do we really need King Kamehameha Day on the calendar? So here's the deal, Doug. When I'm president, there's only going to be a couple of holidays. That's it. Just a few. If you were president, what holidays would you keep on the calendar?
Well, you got to keep the big ones, right? Which I would define, as Labor Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July. I'm not going to go through them. But I'd ditch all the small ones, really.
Would we keep President's Day?
Sure. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with what we're celebrating now. It's the stuff that comes up later. And I will admit, right, there's the LinkedIn post where it's like, oh, crap, it's Earth Day. Run a quick post about Earth Day and how we're committed to it, right? And I'm not disparaging anybody that may have done that or anything else. Earth Day, it's good. Awareness, Arbor Day, the whole 9 yards. But I'm kind of cool with it. I don't think we need any more. And maybe the fact that these holidays have happened so consistently in our lifetime, that's like, okay, it feels about right. But I don't think there's too many. I don't think there's too less. But the one that I absolutely would make, now that I'm thinking about it, Festivus, you got to have that. You got to have the poll. I'd make that way bigger deal than what it is right now.
Yeah, I would love to have a Festivus party. So, Doug, I would make certain changes. Number one, Veterans Day. I would make it federally illegal to ask a veteran to work that day. So not only is it a national holiday and a bank holiday, but more importantly, it would be a federal crime to ask a veteran to work that day. They can say they want to do it. It's up to them. But every veteran in this country should have one day off with pay, and they should not be expected to go into the office that day. I have never had a Veterans Day off, ever, right? It's just part of our job. No one really takes that very important thing. And I think it's a very important holiday. Number two, July 4th is now a week. It is a week. July 4th is a week where nobody goes to work. You don't have to open your store if you don't want to. But just for the economy, could you imagine if in the beginning of July every year, every American didn't have to go to work? Because let's be honest, a lot of Americans don't anyway. That's like turned into if it's on a Friday, if it's on like a Wednesday, no one's getting anything done. Mm-hmm. If it's on a Thursday, no one's going to work on Friday. Let's just call it what it is. We're going to celebrate this great nation, and we're going to take the whole week off. My colleagues in Europe, some of them have entire months off where nobody goes to work. And they're all on vacation at the same time, like August in Denmark, and same thing in France. Good luck getting something done that time of year. Chinese New Year in China, they're off like almost 2 weeks. And look at what it does for their economy. So I think those two. Next, I think that everyone should have a floating holiday for one of these ridiculous holidays. So if you want to celebrate Festivus, you can put that down. Festivus. I'm not going to work that day. Valentine's Day. Oh, for God's sake, right? Okay, fine. You want to take Valentine's Day off? That is entirely yours. And Father's Day and Mother's Day, you get Monday off if you're a father or mother. I think that's fair. We give you your birthday off here. So it's an actual paid holiday for you at DSV. If it's your birthday, you don't go to work today. Yeah. So, Doug, I'm blowing out a couple of holidays.
I know. Well, what you just described there was called personal days that companies allocate. So just take a personal day to celebrate whatever you want.
You're probably right, buddy. But I think that we should make certain things a little more important here, like Father's Day and Veterans Day and the 4th of July. We're coming up on the 250th anniversary of this country.
Yeah.
And, say what you will about the current state of affairs. It's a beautiful experiment. We should celebrate. All right, Doug, what do you got for us, bud?
All right. So have you heard of Eurovision and the song contest that's over in Europe?
Yes.
Yeah, it's happening this week. It starts tomorrow and the grand finale Saturday. So it's a tight window. And so I started looking into it. I'm like, I think everybody's heard of it, right? And I just did some chat GPT and I'm like, why is it called Eurovision? Well, apparently Eurovision was like a national, let me rephrase that, international broadcasting system that they created back in the 50s that was enabled to have, a channel, for lack of a better term, to cover all of Europe, right? So I wouldn't say it was Radio Free Europe, but it was an entertainment version of it. So Eurovision would be like Fox, CNN, ABC, NBC that could go all over Europe. And there's some still connection with Eurovision. If you're a affiliate, you have to sponsor a team to come and take care of that. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be on TV. But here's a couple of fun facts that I looked at. You probably know this one already, not because of you, but it's gotten enough hype that in 1974, ABBA was the winner of Eurovision, and they won it with the song Waterloo. Now, normally I'd ask you to sing it, but I don't really want to do that. But that whole band emerged. That was that was the 70s version of American Idol, right? And apparently it's one of the largest non-sporting event watched on TV. So they say like 160 million people watch over the course of the event in the finale. But anyway, that was kind of crazy. So it's all about over the top. I think this year it's going to be pretty nuts, and that's kind of it. So I saw a little thing pop up on my feed this morning, and Eurovision 2025, baby, it's happening.
I wonder who the most famous bands that come out of Eurovision are. Like ones that we would.
ABBA, without question.
Probably ABBA, yeah, probably ABBA. And then if you like cringeworthy comedies, and it's really cringy, like it is uncomfortable to watch. The Eurovision Fire Saga with Will Ferrell is really good.
What was the name of that movie?
Yeah, the Eurovision movie is what it's called, and then it's got a subtitle. It's like The Saga of Fire or something like that. And from start to finish, you're like, oh God, can this get any worse? But
I've seen it.
Very good.
Awesome.
I think for Eurovision, there's a lot of national pride. Like people want to see their team win. They want their country win, But the crazy thing about being Americans is we have American Idol, we've got The Voice, we have all these damn TV shows, and some people have gotten very famous. A good friend of mine named Pablo Colon, his brother Javier Colon, I played rugby with Pablo. His brother Javier Colon won The Voice the very first year.
Really?
And it didn't really catapult his career. He was already doing okay, but it didn't really change his life, which is unfortunate. But I could think like Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood. There's a lot of people that have become massive because of these shows. I wonder how many other than ABBA become just international superstars.
Yeah, I don't know. If there's an international audience, I'm sure we're going to get blasted because we don't know who won Eurovision in the last 50 years.
I have not watched American Idol in, I don't know, 20 years. Like I haven't watched it in forever. I
Yeah.
kind of forgot it was even still on, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest.
That was must see TV with our family when it came out.
Yeah. Justin Giardini, he was the guy that lost to, was it Kelly Clarkson the
Kelly
first
Clarkson,
time?
yeah, that guy was runner up.
Yeah, and now he's Little Pepper on the Dr. Pepper commercials, the guy that's kind of like Prince.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he plays that guy in the commercials. Like, he's apparently done really well for himself coming off of that.
Huh.
I don't know,
All right,
Doug.
so I'm going to turn this thing back to global trade.
Okay.
And we'll jump in there. And I'm going to take this one because, and then I'll let you finish it up, right? But every once in a while, there's people that email us and said, "Hey, I like the show," whatever. They connect normally through LinkedIn. And there was this one gentleman named Travis Smith who reached out to me last week. He's with Trade Risk Guarantee up in Bozeman, Montana, TradeRiskGuarantee.com. And he's like, "Hey, man, you need to talk about insurance and the impacts on these tariffs, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not going to do it justice, but you reached out to me, and anybody that does, will come up with a collaborative topic, right?" And so, Travis, thanks for coming up with this topic today. So my take is insurance is like gas, right? You complain about the cost, but then you hear a Jay-Z song come on and you realize it's just the reality of how to run business. So people bitch about it and they're like, "Yeah, I guess I need it," go from there. So generally people underinsure or sure just the right amount to cover their tail. But you better be careful with the insurance situation and all these tariffs. Now, it may have waned a little bit because of what transpired, but the traditional policy is CIF, cost, insurance, and freight plus 10%, right, to cover all the accessorial and incidental fees. Well, that 10% isn't covering what's transpired in the last month or so with those tariffs. So you could be really exposed if that's the case. And Travis said you could do CIF 10% plus duty. I'm sure the premium is more expensive. I have no idea. I'm just making an assumption. So even with the tariffs going from 145 down to 30 or some variation depending on your commodity, it's definitely worth checking out. And then the other thing is that let's go to the domestic side of it, right? The LTL carriers, a lot of that stuff, a lot of those have X dollars per pound of loss, right? So now you got two different units of measure because you have a value and then you have weight. And that doesn't really jive. And there's been plenty of times that I've heard stories where like, "What? You're paying me $270 because of the way the shipment? I just lost 50 grand." So I think insurance is something that's overlooked. And when the value of your goods, landed cost has accelerated tremendously, um, I take a look at it because the widget, whatever that is that you're importing, is now more valuable than pre-tariff. And when things are more expensive, freight theft increases, and we already have a substantial problem with that in the U.S. So um, figure out your insurance situation. Yes, it dropped from 145 down to 30. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But that's a big topic for protection, and I think people should take a look at it.
I agree. Doug, I'm paid to be paranoid for a living, so this topic's right up my alley. The number of times that something has gone dramatically wrong for a client, and they just assumed that someone else took care of
Yeah.
insurance. They didn't understand the Incoterm, the breadth and depth of what it's supposed to cover, what it doesn't cover. General average claims, people don't have their insurance in place for that. When that absolutely, Armageddon-like feeling happens in a general average claim, they're not paying attention to it. This is one of those things that, just as much as trade compliance, you should be focusing on the risk of your cargo. You should be speaking with professionals about it. This is not the kind of thing that you should just pull out of thin air, right? Most of us don't understand it well enough. You should have a professional sit down with you and talk about risk. And like everything else with insurance, the cost of you insuring your cargo and giving you some comfort is going to be a lot less than just one claim. One thing where you didn't have the claim.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just personally, I had a bag once that got lost on a flight back from Asia, and the airline was responsible for $14 a pound what it cost. And I had a number of bespoke suits. Like, I used to go to Asia all the time to get suits made. They weren't cheap, man, right? And this bag looked like it had gone through a tree shredder. when I got it. It was ruined. I mean, everything was ripped. I must have got caught in a machine or something. It was destroyed. And I got my check for $14 per pound, right? But what I didn't know is my home insurance in my umbrella policy actually covered that, covered the loss. I could come up with something. So there's one like little tidbit of insurance from old Uncle Pete here. You should look into see whether or not you have that type for when you travel, if it would affect your goods as well. But Doug, for the gentleman that wrote in, you said his name was Travis. Is that who it was?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. For Travis that wrote in, that is such an important topic that is not given enough focus and attention. And it's really the type of thing that I always encourage people to speak to a professional about. Find some time, get an hour on there. Yes, they're trying to sell you a service, but you know what? It's worth your time to listen to them and get educated about where we are, how the tariffs impact it, because they're not going away. We're going to have more tariffs, and then understand how it affects your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Travis up at TradeRiskGuarantee.com.
Give him a call, people. Check out his website. Yeah. So my final topic is I'm going to be a dink. I'm just going to say it, right? Where we talk a lot about technology on the show, trade technology and the investment in it. And I hate to be an I told you so guy, but I told you a lot of these companies weren't going to make it. And they're trash vaporware. And that is what we're learning. So after billions of dollars of investment, billions of dollars going into some of these companies to help develop their technology, guess what? It doesn't work. Or it doesn't really have a value that you couldn't get for free or as part of other services that you're already buying. And they're beginning to run out of cash. The appetite for investing in these services is starting to go away. And for some of them that are still operating, they better come up with results soon or they're not going to be here. Freight forwarding companies have billions of dollars that they can put into investing in technology solutions. And they have been. And now they're surpassing these third-party software, or they're buying them, or they're buying them as a service and then selling it to their clients. It's not this panacea of never-ending technology solutions. What we're learning is people want to know where the crap is, when it's going to get there, how it's going to fit into their inventory, and what it's going to cost. And everything else, kind of worthless. And you have hundreds of businesses that have been built on this premise that there was a massive need in the market for it. Turns out there wasn't. Turns out it was already being addressed by other things. So Doug, I'm calling it. I should have brought nails with me today. I'm nailing the coffin on a whole bunch of these companies that aren't going to make it.
Yeah. Well, to your point, it was, we spoke about COVID earlier, and our industry, we benefited from COVID, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. When you're moving, you can't virtually ship a box, right? And people were purchasing a lot of goods, right? So our industry stayed afloat. And so all this money and interest came into our industry before. I always joke that nobody knew what I did. Nobody cared about it at cocktail parties. But I'll tell you what, post-COVID, I was more popular than a doctor or a surgeon or a lawyer, right? As far as what's going on. And so all this interest and money just started flooding in, right? And I think it was just, who could buy the coolest new shiny thing on the table? And some of it, I'm not immersed in it, Pete, but some of it's probably good stuff. But I would say most of it just is a lot of fluff because you still need a person to talk to people to figure out what's going on. And by the time you integrate it, do that stuff, the data's already gone. The information in the data is already old, and you just need to know what's happening. Where's my stuff? When am I going to get it? Right? If it's delayed, yeah, I get it, but let me talk to a human and explain why it's important to me and what's going on, and maybe you could do something special for me. Those are humans that make that happen.
Yeah. Well, one great example of this is NYSHEX, of a company that's actually lived up to its promise of keeping parties involved in an ocean contract to the promises that they made. And I think it was last week or the week before, they went up on the stock exchange. They're now publicly traded stock. But that took decades, dude. Decades to get where they are right now. But that was something that the market wanted. The market wanted a clearinghouse where ocean carriers and buyers, BCOs, had a place to understand what was going on, hold people accountable, be able to look at changes in the market and make adjustments based on contracts. It made sense. You don't need 25 other companies doing it when you've got one that's really doing a great job that's already been accepted by the marketplace. And for, landed cost engines, these AI classification tools, I don't know that half of them are working now, but we need to continue to invest in those because people want to know what their stuff's going to cost. They want to get it right. But these aggregations of data from all over the world in one place, our customers have not found them as useful as people expected. So I think there was a vast over investment in good ideas from people who simply were either unable to deliver on the promise of the technology or found that the marketplace was simply not as interested in what they were doing as they thought. So that's it. Get out the hammer, Doug. I got the nails. We're nailing the coffin shut on a bunch of these people this year.
All right. Bold statement.
Yeah, it's me, buddy, Mr. Bold. Well, as always, Doug, thanks for being the lead dog on our pack of wolves here as we go through all these issues on global trade. Thank you to our good friends at Cap Logistics, who I've never gotten a penny for the show. Doug, have you? Gotten a paycheck? You got a paycheck from these guys from this?
No, but hopefully I'll get something from Travis.
Yeah, and have we ever given these guys a penny of our money?
Never.
We don't work for them. Cap Logistics, week in, week out, for years now, has been giving us a platform to share our ideas and to really just have an honest conversation about where we think global trade is going. Can't think of enough. And for all of you listening, neither one of us work for this company. We're telling you, take a look at Cap Logistics, go through their website, see what they do. They give us the junior varsity squad with Keenan every week. I'm pretty sure they could give us somebody better, but we've grown used to his incompetency, and we're happy to have him on every week. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here. And we want to thank all of you, the listeners, and all these hard times that we've gone through. It's been great to have an audience to speak to. Continue to subscribe and tell your friends. You can find us on all the podcast platforms. And like we say every week, if it's going on in global trade, we'll be talking about it next week on Global Trade This Week. Thanks, buddy. See you next week.
All right. Take care, Pete.